Hey everybody, welcome back to APM Help Academy. Today we're going to be looking at setting up rental owners and management fees. Now, just to avoid confusion, we are back in the APM Help Buildium account. If you saw in the previous video, we were just using a trial account for that video. Just wanted to put that out there just to avoid any confusion there. So with adding rental owners in Buildium, there are a couple different ways we can do this. Probably the first way that I'll touch on is just the way to do it in bulk if you're trying to put a lot of people in at once. We can do this simply just by clicking settings down here and then click import data. That will bring us to this page right here. You've probably seen this before in the other videos. We just click on upload data file and rent owners is right here. And we can get our Excel template right here. So that's a good way, convenient way to upload people in bulk. And there's also a couple other ways that I'll touch on. So on this page right here, if I've already uploaded a lot of people in bulk and I just need to add one single owner, I can do it right from this page. And to bring me to this page, we can just go to rentals, rental owners, brings me right here where we're at now, click on add owner. So I'm going to fill out the information, and you know, what's cool too is I can also put a company name. So in case I wanted to put the name of the owner, and maybe that owner is, you know, has a holding company of some sort, and I can put in that information here. And the checkbox here would basically mean that it's required to fill out this box right here. And if I do check off this box here, you know, the name of the owner would mostly pop up under this name here. Although if you do type in the first and last name, it would pop up as well if you use the search box. But most of the reports and everything would show up under this name if you do check this box. Okay. You know, you can put in the date of birth. You don't have to. It's not required. Start date and end date of the management agreement. It's also not required in Buildium, but I think it's helpful to put it in there. Just a little reminder of when that agreement ends and when you have to renew it. Their contact information. So you are required to put in a primary email for an owner to access the portal. But you know, if they don't want access to the portal, I guess you don't have to fill it out. The only thing is that they're not going to receive any email communications either. So what's pretty cool in Buildium is you know, owners get a lot of different emails that are helpful, such as EFTs being sent to them and them getting an alert about it. You know, it's the task updates and you know, and things like that. So if you don't fill out the email box, there's a lot you're losing there. I highly recommend putting an email address in here. You know, phone number, it's not really tied to any functionality per se, but I guess it does help to have their phone number on file. Their street address, again, this is linked to the Google Maps. So if their address isn't in here, you're going to want to send in a request to Google Maps. If you do, you know, select an address in here, it's going to fill out the other information for you, which is nice. Pretty quick there. Any comments, I guess, about the ownership? 1099 NEC filing information. This is helpful to fill out ahead of time so you're not having to hopefully not track down the owner for their 1099 information, but that's something I'd request ahead of time, and go ahead and fill out their information there. So when it comes time to file 1099s, it's already there for you. And what's cool is, like, you know, if this is technically like a DBA name and you need to fill out like a legal name, you can use a different name for the 1099 filing. So that's helpful there. And then you go ahead and add the properties associated with the owner. So I can add multiple properties at once. If I've already added several properties the owner owns, I go ahead and add those properties in here by clicking this plus box. All right, and that adds it right here. And it says I've selected 5 properties. This owner owns 5 properties. But remember, if the property hasn't been added yet, you cannot add the property from here. You got to do it beforehand. All right. And then I go ahead and create owner. Now there's already owners on these properties, so that's why Buildium is popping up and saying, hey, do you want to adjust the ownership percentages? It doesn't add to 100% anymore. I got one owner that's 100% and another one's 100%, and it adds up to 200. So you can adjust the percentages right from here, or you can click no and do it later, which is, you know, if I click yes, I want to adjust the percentages, here's where I can do it and change the ownership percentages around right from the get-go. For this sake, I won't do it, but yeah, something to keep in mind there. So once I create the owner, it takes me right to their profile. And I can edit even more stuff in here if I want to. I can add some notes, I can add some files, you know, if I didn't add the 1099 information, I can still do it. And so one thing that the owner profiles do have is they have a financials tab right here. And this just breaks down all the distributions and contributions that have kind of taken place. I can add in EFT info if I want to. So if I had EFT in Buildium, I can add in their account and routing number info right from here so they can receive payments using Buildium's ePay system. Contribution ePay settings. This is something more from the banking side. If I had ePay, like I can basically turn it on for them so they can make contributions. One thing that's nice too about the owner profiles is if I made a mistake with their properties at all, or I need to add more, I can do it right from the properties tab in their profile, where I can manage their properties, remove any properties associated with them, or add more properties associated with them. I will say though, you want to be really careful with this though if ownership is changing on a property, because I simply don't want to just, you know, add a new owner to it or remove one. If ownership is changing in Buildium, it's a totally different process. They have a great help article on it about when ownership changes. I highly recommend checking it out. If an ownership is changing on a property, it involves a process where you basically have to create a new version of the property, create a new version of an owner, create a new version of the lease. So something you want to check out in the Buildium support hub. They do have a great article that breaks it down. In the owner profile as well, we have communications. I can see the entire history of communication that they've had, any emails, mailings. You can log phone calls and text message, the text messages has Buildium's text message feature, as well as you can log some. So that's pretty cool. All the files are listed here and any notes that you made on the owner. All right. And right here, if you're wondering in this blue box, this is referring to available cash in combination with all of their properties together. So this is factoring in all 5 properties and what their available cash is in a combination of all 5 properties they own at any given time. So this is basically saying that the owner has $320.50 available to pay to the owner, to pay for expenses, etc. So, all right. So yeah, that's breaking down pretty much the owner profile. Oh, and another thing I wanted to point out too, you can send a welcome email to them right from here if you want to give them access to their rent owner portal. It's just another area. I did break down another video that we can do it from the users page too, but you can also send them invites right from here as well. The custom fields, this is more of a new feature, by the way, in Buildium, where I can add a different type of field, and that's something where I can have a field name and add it to a group if I have one, and the field type. But again, this is a really new feature that they have in here. All right. And another way I can add an owner too, which you, again, probably did see in a previous video, is if I go to add my property right from this page here, there is a section that does say, do you want to add a rental owner? So I could add one right here as well. All right. So those are all the ways to add the rental owners. Now, one thing I want to touch on with the rental owners that's pretty important is when you add owners in the system, there is something in here called ownership percentages. It's linked to 2 different things in Buildium. One of the first things it's linked to is owner distributions. So if I have 2 50% owners in Buildium, it's going to want to pay everybody just half of the available cash every single time. And the same can be said if I have a 25% owner, 10% owner, it's only going to pay that certain percentage to the owner every single time. Now, of course, you can edit the amounts you're distributing to everybody at any time, but it's automatically going to allocate that percentage every time. The other area that ownership percentages are linked to in Buildium is 1099 filing. Now, 1099 filing is, a really good feature in Buildium, and I definitely highly recommend using it. One of the best features that Buildium has. And so what it's going to do is if I go to file for someone, whatever their percentage is, it's going to base the total income on that property based on the percentage. So if my property made $10,000 for the year and total gross income, the owner's a 50% owner, it's only going to want to file $5,000 for that owner. So those are the 2 areas that ownership percentages come into play in Buildium. And if you need to edit those, what you're going to want to do is just go to the rentals and the property section, go to the property associated with that owner, And we can see the percentages right here. And you can see that this one right here has like a 40% and a 60%. And I can edit this at any time and change those percentages as needed. All right, so it's just a brief little intro to the ownership percentages. Not a whole lot going on there. It's pretty straightforward, but something I definitely wanted to point out, because Buildium will at times pop up ownership percentages alerts, especially if you're adding a second owner to a property that already has an owner. It's going to want you to edit those percentages. So, segueing into management fees, okay? Now, if I'm going to the management fees, this is a super important thing that I did touch on a little bit in a previous video going over settings, but I'm going to dive into the management fees a little deeper because there is other areas that you can edit about management fees. And specifically, I'm talking about like overrides, specific policies that have to do for, certain properties. In order to get to this page, as you know, it's settings, application settings, and then I go right here into management fees. Now, this is what's referred to as my global policy. Like, this policy should be the policy that applies to all or most properties, okay? And, so this is why it's super important. Whatever your policy is that applies to all or most properties, this is where you should do it. Now, management income accounts, this is really important in terms of all the fees that your company keeps completely. Like all the fee, no matter what, like you keep all of that money. So typically what I see in these settings here are application fees, for instance. A property management company is typically going to keep all the application fees. Same can be said for those convenience fees you're charging to tenants to reimburse yourself for EFTs. If you're getting charged for EFTs and you're invoicing by Buildium. If your management policy does say that you keep the late fees, well, then I go ahead and put in late fee income. This is super important to tackle ahead of time, because if you don't have this set up and you start doing all of your accounting in Buildium, there is a chance you're going to pay some of these fees to people and not even know it. So this is super important to get right from the get-go, because it can be a tricky accounting if you don't get it right from the beginning, and you're going to need a professional to help you fix it down the road. So yeah, again, management income, these are all the fees that your property management company keeps completely. And the owners also will not see these types of income on their statements at all. It's the activity won't show on there. Now, going down to non-commissionable income accounts, these are all the types of income that you're not going to collect any fee on whatsoever. So a lot of the things I typically see is such as repairs income. A lot of people will withhold security deposits towards repairs income. And for the most part, you're probably not going to collect a management fee off of that. And that can also be said for utility income reimbursements from tenants. Maybe I want to throw in cleaning and maintenance income in here. So it's basically all the types of income you do not want to charge the owner a fee for it, ever. So also very important. And GST, this is something that applies for typically Canadian types of portfolios. So this is something that you could set up here if you need to charge GST. All right. So another area that management fee settings can be placed is in the property section, which I'll go to in a second, because in a scenario where you say, well, I have a different management fee policy and a management agreement with a specific owner, I need to make a policy that's different from my global one. The way we can do that is just simply go into rentals and then properties. I go into the property I want to make a unique management fee policy for. Click on financials, management fee settings, and I go ahead and override my global setting. And this will go ahead and allow me to make a policy that's unique for this one owner or one property. Okay. Now, management company, you're typically going to choose the same exact management company. Management fee expense account, I don't really see why else you would choose anything but management fees. And then you could go ahead and save that. All right. And again, this is if I wanted to change it to something else. So I want to change it to a $75 flat fee instead of the what I have in the global policy. That's how I can do it. All right. And that's pretty much it in terms of the management fees. Those are the areas that you're going to want to edit ahead of time. Really important to get right from the get-go, because all else will fail if you're trying to go ahead and collect the management fees for your company. You're trying to pay yourself all the fees you're supposed to keep. Definitely want to get it right. So we're going to go ahead and segue over to the owner portal overview. Now we're going to look at what rental owners see when they log into their portal. Okay. And what's cool is, like, as a staff member in here, as long as you have the access, especially if you're an administrator, I can sign in as any rental owner at any time and look at exactly what they see. It can be really helpful if you need to navigate owners through certain things in their portal. So if I want to sign in as this owner here, down here where it says rental owner website, you can see there's an option to sign in as this user, which I can go ahead and do. And this is the home page for an owner. Typically, it's just the financials page. And normally what I would see in here is a simple P&L for whatever, date I'm running. And if you're not familiar with P&L, I'm talking about profit and loss, just simply income minus expenses and net income. That's the whole breakdown of this page. And that's pretty much it on the financial side. So looking at this here, looks like this has a little something in it. But for instance, this gives a pretty decent example. If I'm running something year to date, it's going to give me a breakdown for Q1, Q2, and Q3. How much I had in expenses, how much I had in income, what's my net income. Really simple breakdown. Rental owner ledger, what I would see here normally is literally just pretty much distributions to the owner and contributions that they've made. Documents are any documents that you shared with them. So any files that you want to share with them, it would show up here. They can also look at e-signature documents. So if you use Buildium's leasing feature, they can see the documents right here, which is pretty cool. Requests. Now, these are all the rental requests they've sent in. So maybe there's something they need fixed, or a tenant reached out to them for some reason and they're sending in a request for it. Basically, if the owner wants to send in a task with you, they would do it from here, and it would show up as a task in your Buildium account. And they can review all the history of any rent owner request they've made. Even if you've added a rent owner request for an owner, they could see it here as well. As long as it's categorized as a rent owner request, they'll see it here. Now for the reports page, they have access to only certain reports by default. You can give them access to more reports if you want to, but the reports page looks just like your reports page. It's no different. It's the same exact thing. They just have limitations to how many reports they can see. But typically the ones they're going to use most commonly, of course, are the rental owner statement, the income statement, maybe a balance sheet if they have a little bit more of an accounting background, the rent roll. Those are typically a lot of the reports that they like to look at. And of course, some tasks as well. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The rent owner portal is similar to what you would see when you're navigating in Buildium. The only difference is, of course, they have a lot more limitations. And, the financials and rent owner ledger thing is a little unique, of course, but it's super simple of a breakdown. And yeah, that's a little bit about the owner portal there. You can give owners more access to things, by the way. You just got to be really careful, because Buildium really was designed to where they think the whole default that they give you is not going to be changed. And if you give them more access, the problem is you might be giving them access to other things you don't want them to see necessarily about other people's properties. So if you are going to try to give them more access to things, be really careful, sign in as them, and test it, is my recommendation. But typically, I don't give owners more access than what they already have, typically, just because the defaults in Buildium are by design. But anyways, that's a little bit about adding owners, setting up management fees, and looking at the owner portal. Yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos, and feel free to look at us at apmhelp.com. Reach out to us at info@apmhelp.com. And yeah, thanks for watching.